Hi, grade 7. So we're going to look at your media literacy task that I assigned, and hopefully this video will help even for those people that are currently absent. Maybe some of you started it, maybe some of you haven't, but I'll definitely read through it and I'll take you through the text. So we're looking at media literacy here and analyzing it. Okay, so we're looking at a lot of text features. So when we're looking at media forms, if you just go on to the next page, I think they really define it nicely for you here. Media forms include things like newspapers, magazines, songs, movies, TV shows, maps, t-shirts, and so on. The type of media elements in different forms can vary greatly. Movie elements, for example, include soundtracks, sound effects, special effects, flashbacks, dialogue, different types of shots, sets, costumes, and so on. Whereas in magazines, the usual media elements include photos, captions, illustrations, diagrams, maps, articles, questionnaires, headings, pull quotes, and so on. Okay, so this really should be your go-to definition in terms of media, whether it's on the screen or whether it's in print. Okay, so let's go back here to page 1, analyzing media elements. Media texts are designed to tell a certain story or to send a certain message. Okay, so this ties with theme. Okay, what is the point of the whole text? The power of the text is enhanced when different media elements are used and combined effectively. For example, in movies, visual images are made even more powerful with the use of a good soundtrack, sound effects, or special effects. This is what brings the images really to life. Okay, think about how a soundtrack changed the mood or the feeling, or your emotions when you were watching a movie. It could have been a thriller or a suspense, or even something of the horror genre. The music, the sound effects always add something. The same approach of using various media elements can be found in textbooks. Traditional textbooks rely on limited media, mainly print, okay, so the words, to send their message. However, many contemporary textbooks also use photos, cartoons, colorful layouts, and other media elements usually found in magazines. Okay, these are called text features. Okay, so they kind of bring the text to life. They really feature it. They really draw you in, engage your interest. Otherwise, it would be pretty bland. For example, take a close look at this page from a Nelson Literacy 7 magazine. Notice how it uses a variety of elements: photo, texture, paint splotch, title treatment, logo, boxed text, icon, and table of contents. These elements combine to create a powerful effect. Imagine how boring this page would look if the only elements were a plain title, plain text, and a photo of a shirt. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm talking about. Text features. What do you do to the words to bring them to life? Well, you need to include some kind of images, you have to include some kind of font, you have to use some kind of graphics. Okay, and you need a layout, okay, something that involves a bit of color, a bit of texture, to make it interesting. So here you have interesting logo they're pointing out. They have an icon, okay, we use a lot of symbols. Okay, table of contents, okay, you have some key ideas here. What are they going to be looking at? Colorful tab. Interesting title design here, okay, changing up the font, putting a box around it, outlining the letters, paint splotch. I mean, these are things that sometimes we take for granted, but there's actually a lot of thought put into it in order to get you to stay on a page and read it. Yeah, there's a little bit of texture here. Box text, wearing a message on a t-shirt is an easy way to make a statement. Yeah, absolutely. T-shirts can tell people what you think, what you like, and what you find funny. What do you think about this t-shirt's trying to say here? You've got a graph here. Money connected with problems. The more money you have, the more problems. Okay, that actually reminds me of a song from the 1990s. More money, more problems. There's Notorious B.I.G. or, texture. So, background, engaging photo, okay? You know, someone of your age that you can possibly connect to. Like, really, a lot of thought is put into this. This is text features, okay? Otherwise, had it just been words, it really wouldn't have drawn your attention, okay? Yeah, as money increases, so do problems. This is like taking a typical graphing question from a math textbook, that as this line increases on this trajectory, on this incline, then after problems are going to increase as well, showing you the mathematical relationship. But it's kind of cool because it's been put on a t-shirt, and you know, they're getting across the message there, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's go on to the next page. So this is your go-to definition of what media elements are. Okay, this is, you know, this is really part of marketing and advertising. A lot of thought goes into advertisements, whether it's you know, in magazines, on billboards, social media feeds now. I mean, people pay to you know, put up ads on social media, and then after they track the analytics of it all, you know, how many impressions or clicks it got. So obviously it needs to be something that is engaging, you know, with the words, the colors, the graphics, everything. Some questions to ask as you analyze media elements. What is the form of this media text? Okay, it could be like, for example, in a magazine or on a billboard. What media elements does this text use? Okay, it could be, you know, fonts, graphics, colors, that sort of thing that we saw on the previous page. How effectively are these media elements used? What elements contribute to my enjoyment of this media text? What elements make this text powerful or not as powerful? How are the elements of the media text combined to create or enhance meaning? Okay, so this is just really looking at, you know, the idea of drawing your attention, anyone's attention, a reader, to, you know, stay on it and really understand the author's message, or the company's message for that matter, if it's some kind of form of advertisement. Extreme advertising, comic buy. I figure as long as we're migrating, might as well make a few extra bucks. That's kind of funny that they took some birds flying to the south, and one of them is endorsing an insurance company that's probably looking to increase their sales, that they hired these birds as an endorsement. That's kind of smart. Okay, there's you know, there was some thought in that, you know, who could we use to possibly endorse our insurance? How about some birds flying to the south? That's funny. Okay, so it's kind of creative as well. Here's another, what media elements is it using? Well, you know, look at the title, look at the sky, the graphics, the birds, you know, the cleverness of that whole thing, you know, this voice bubble here. Okay, you know, him, you know, the two birds talking together, you know, this is personification. Okay, birds speaking like humans and taking on, you know, the attributes of, you know, for example, usually, you know, endorsements, you associate them with athletes. Okay, yeah, in this case you've got birds here as the protagonists of this advertising spot. Extreme advertising. Yeah, this is definitely taking it to the next level of advertisement. Writers also combine different writing elements, for example, plot, character, humor, language, to enhance meaning. Sure, all of these things really bring together You know, I mean, think back to when we read The Outsiders. Look at like the story that it was set in. Well, The Outsiders was really driven by character. Okay, you really fell in love with the characters. You know, the good ones, the bad ones. With Dallas Winston, with Ponyboy. That was a novel that S.E. Hinton wrote that really was based around developing those characters, and I think that's even what keeps you watching a really good TV show. It's the characters. If you can't connect to the characters, if you can't cheer them on, if you can't, I don't know, feel sorry for them, but you're still rooting for them at the same time, then you're not going to invest your time watching it, or like reading a good book. Okay, it's really the characters that draw you in, and the circumstances in which they find themselves. That's the plot, the conflicts, and them trying to get out of it. Yes, you definitely need some humor. Humor lightens things up. All right. Writing elements to enhance meaning. In the last book you read, what were some of the writing elements that helped you enjoy the book? Well, really think back to, the books that you've enjoyed this year, and maybe you enjoyed one book more than the other, and maybe you had a connection more to the character and what he or she was going through. Okay, when you think back to The Outsiders, or when you think back to Seed Folks, you had like 20 different characters there. Maybe one or two really stood out for you and you really connected to them. What else did we read? Hatchet, we read The Little Prince. So, yeah, the last book, what were some of the writing elements that helped you enjoy the book? It could even be just like the plot. You really liked, the idea of when you think back to Hatchet, his survival story, what he had to go through to survive. The Outsiders, when you think about the East fighting with the West, the Rumble, the church burning, like the whole drama there. The coming of age of Ponyboy, he starts putting his life on track. The tragedy of Johnny, the tragedy of Dallas Winston. Maybe with the Little Prince, all of the different life lessons that you can learn from him, or even from Seed Folks. That was all about community and about, racial division there. So there's a lot of different elements that can draw you in. So to answer that question, think back to any of the novels that we did this year, and, like what specifically engaged your interest and, got you to enjoy the book. So think about that. So think back to, or could even be a book that you recently read on your own. If you haven't, then think back to the past 3-4 novel studies that we've done to answer that question. Whether across the curriculum, geography, weather systems are interesting to watch on the internet because you can see the weather developing. What are some of the media elements that are often found on weather websites? Okay, well, even if you tune into the Weather Channel, okay, they use a lot of different graphics and to get you to understand, the 5-day forecast or the 7-day forecast. Sometimes I even see them using graphs, okay, to look at average temperature changes throughout the month. So I know that graphs are definitely used. Tune into the Weather Channel. I don't know what channel it is on every TV, but yeah, the weather icons, with that are animated with, like the clouds or the thunder or the rain or the snow. So these days, I would say that the graphics are even more animated, and the actual graphs that are used to plot out the temperature changes or the average temperatures for the month, or something that even measures precipitation. So those are definitely media elements, okay? So you don't have to only look at it at on a weather website. You could also go to like the Weather Channel. Okay, so check that out. That's a question you can answer. By the way, you can work with a partner on this as well, but only one. How do those elements combine to enhance the meaning of the text? Well, not only does it engage your interest, the colors, the graphics, if it's animated, but it also helps you, more importantly, better understand the text. Okay, in this case, well, when you're talking about weather, you're talking about data. Okay, they're measuring precipitation. They're measuring the probability of precipitation. So you're dealing with percentages. Okay, so really, in terms of enhancement, I would say general understanding of what's been happening over the past few days or the past week, or what's coming, or average temperatures throughout the month, or average precipitation throughout the month that's being measured possibly in millimeters, especially if we're talking about rain. So I would say that this has to do with understanding a text. Okay, don't mind the phone in the background. Okay, I'm moving on now to manga. Why do you think manga cartoons are such an appealing form? Well, I remember when I was growing up, a lot of the, some of the cartoons that I watched, I think, were of Japanese origins that were then translated into English. I've also seen I remember I was a kid growing up in Italy. They were definitely anime, and they were translated into Italian. But I think it was just really the actual design of the cartoons, of the actual characters. They looked completely different than your regular Hollywood cartoons that were more, well, back in that time in the 80s, I think they were more 2D. Now everything's more 3D. But, whether it was the hairstyles or how, facial expressions. I used to see some that were more, like with robots and things like that. Yeah, they just had a completely different feel to it. The animation was different. Yeah, it just had a completely different thing than something, produced from Hollywood. I'm trying to remember things from Hollywood, like sort of Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny. I remember the Flintstones, whereas the Japanese, were definitely more action-oriented. Okay, you had robots fighting, you had characters getting into ships and that sort of thing, and it was definitely more animated, a bit more fantasy-based. I think more action-adventure. I think that's what really drew my attention. Yeah, even the facial expressions are completely different, and they're really cool. What is manga? Analyzing media elements. What is manga anyway? How is it different from anime? Okay, you guys may have more experience there. Okay, I'm not overly familiar with manga versus anime, but I know some of you have done your Story Mountain on a couple of these, so maybe you'll know the difference between them. Here's a quick guide to some of the words often used to describe manga. Anime, Japanese word for animation. There you go. Animation. Many popular manga comics are adapted into animated movies, cartoons, or video games. Okay, yes, definitely a lot of movies, cartoons have their origins in the comic books. Many movies today actually have their origins also from novels. They're generally based on a novel. Video games, yes, have also become movies as well. That's another form of increasing an audience, is taking, comics and then putting them out in a movie format in order to build a larger audience. Giga, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. That's a serious manga, comic books for an older audience. Okay, probably has more older themes, more probably mature themes. The style of the art is more realistic. The word Giga translated as dramatic pictures. Okay, so they've obviously also understood who their audience is and have created things for both of those audience age levels. Manga, Japanese comic book or graphic novel that uses fanciful images. Okay, so here you have the idea of fantasy, adventure, covers a range of subjects and themes. The main style uses exaggerated, dramatic physical features such as large eyes, big hair, and lengthened limbs. Yeah, I think that's probably definitely an element that would totally differentiate it from the typical Hollywood-based cartoons. When I think back to the 80s, 90s, you know, that was made by Hanna-Barbera, they did a lot of, or, you know, like the Looney Tunes franchise cartoons there. Yeah, lengthened limbs, yeah, the eyes, the hair, that was completely, you know, more sort of futuristic at that time. Identify the media elements the media text uses. Think about how these manga images use the elements listed in the definition for. Okay, how effectively are these elements used? Well, you know what? Write your own opinion. For you that already are familiar with manga and anime, what is it about it? Okay, when you look at it from a superficial level, just looking at it in terms of the colors, the features, the layout of the whole thing, really that's what these questions are asking you to answer. What is it about it that draws you in? What is it about it that you think that, you know, it really captures your interest and wants you, you know, it prompts you to read the graphic novels of it, or, you know, watch a movie or a cartoon series of it? What is it about it? Okay, what is it about the style? What do we have here? Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of intrigue here, you know, you're intrigued as to what this character here is thinking. You know, there's a lot of attention is drawn to the character's eyes here. You know, they're wearing here the almost the Beats headphones, and you have someone here winking, so kind of get already a feeling about the character, you know, what they're like. Identify the media elements that make the media text enjoyable or powerful. Refer to the media elements as you assess how enjoyable or powerful this example of manga art is. Okay. Just the artwork of it, in terms of, you know, the light, the shadow, you know, the reflections. It's you know, it's not the traditional North American cartoon. I think it's just because it's different. It looks, you know, it's off the page. It's realistic. You know, you want to know something about this character here. Mangaka, someone who draws manga. Shoujo, a style of manga or anime intended for young women. Stories may be melodramatic or romantic. Well, yeah, you do have some. Sometimes authors, you know, know who their audience is, and they write specifically for that audience. So in this case, it's for a younger female audience, so they're looking more at something, maybe they know that they're more interested in romance or flowery style of art. Okay, so they know who their audience is. Shonen, a style of manga intended for boys. Okay, so they've definitely understood who wants to read their manga and has definitely, they're like basically targeting or focusing on those demographics and what those young females or what those young boys are interested in, and they're obviously producing something that would appeal to that age group. This style includes a lot of action and humorous plots, Dragon Ball and Full Metal. Okay, so they figure that boys want more of action, adventure, things blowing up, people shooting, spaceships, that sort of thing. Yeah, so when I think back to the ones that I used to see, what was it called? It was called 1980s. No, hold on. Anime. Yeah, it was this. Yeah, it was this. It was these robots. Yeah, this was Japanese anime back in the 80s. Grendizer? Yeah, Grendizer. This was you know what? It was just the color. It was the action. It was the adventure. This was completely different than you know, your Hollywood. Yeah, the other one was it G-Force? I don't know if that was anime. 1980s G-Force. Yeah, I don't know if this was also anime at that time, or if it was manga. Yeah, I think it was Battle of the Planets. Yeah, I think it had been translated for North America as Battle of the Planets. Definitely. Yeah. Alright, so here we're giving you the definitions. A style of manga that more closely resembles Western comic strips. Okay, well, yeah, that was another. Comic strips, yeah, were very popular. Westerns have always been powerful, you know, with cowboys versus, you know, Aboriginal peoples. Western movies were very popular in the 1950s and 60s of Hollywood. Reflect on how media elements are combined to enhance meaning. How are the elements of manga combined in this cartoon to enhance the meaning? Well, what is the meaning of this, and how are they, here you have some kind of FaceTime, I'm assuming it is. This is more of a future, our version of a FaceTime, and I don't know from what this year it dates, but how are the elements of manga combined in this cartoon to enhance its meaning? Okay, so what they're trying to get across to you here. Critical thinking. Think about what you learned about the different styles of manga from reading the definitions. Which style of manga do you think you would prefer? So here I think, guys, these are open-ended questions. There's no right or wrong answer. They're just trying to get you to, I mean, if you have some knowledge already with manga and anime, I think it'll come a little bit natural to you. You know, reflecting on, you know, your preferences, or, you know, what is it about it that lures you in, that engages you, that captures your interest, that gets your curiosity. Okay, I think you'll be able to answer it. But even if you haven't, you know, like just even by looking at it, you know, you can arrive at some opinion. Really, this is just an opinion piece, and it's open-ended. Affected by your prior knowledge of or interest in manga. Reflect on how your ability to analyze media elements. Okay, so go back to, you know, media elements. Okay, go back to the definition of what media elements are, and what's in it. What's in the manga and the anime here that really captures your interest and, you know, tries to express a theme. Alright. Animation, powerful, increasing popular form of media, various state. What makes some topics more suitable for animation? Yeah, I mean, some comics do translate very, do lend themselves very well to, a series, and it's the same things with like books. Some books lend themselves better to movies, and some really don't. Maybe, you end up watching the movie and you think, what, the book is 100 times a million better. Like maybe you'll read the comic and you'll come to that same conclusion reading it, and looking at the graphics associated with it, or if there aren't any graphics, the image that you create in your mind already is something powerful from the words, and then you may watch the movie and you'll have a completely different opinion. So, again, these are open-ended questions. There's really no right or wrong answer. They're just trying to get you to, think about the style and just express your own honest opinion about it. Okay? That's really it. So, yeah, express your opinion. Put some supporting reasons, express why, you feel that way, and don't think that, I'm looking for something in particular. No, this is an open-ended, opinion-based response. All right? That's all. That's all it really is. Okay, and the focus here is obviously on manga and anime. You're just expressing your opinion about it. What is it about it that draws you in? Okay? Or it may not draw you in, but they're trying to get you to look at it and, pick out some things that do capture your interest. Okay? Hope that helps. That's your analyzing media text assignment that you can work on independently or with a partner.